I-record na mo, Jurax.
Mana. Good morning, ma'am. Morning ang topic
Morning, ma'am.
on the Laguna Copperplate inscription. So, ikadadol. The Laguna earliest known evidence for writing literature in history of the Philippines. The Laguna Copperplate inscription is a sheet of copper metal when seen writing discovered in the province of Laguna in 1989. We know very little about the Philippines prior to the Spanish conquest outside of writing history. Aside from a few records in China that mention the islands there have only been a few artifacts discovered in the Philippines when writing them. The Laguna Copperplate inscriptions is is the name of the inscription writing in the artifact that has great significance significant ano na? Di mo klaro man. For the understanding of the history of the Philippines during 10th century. Many scholars believe that the area was isolated from the rest of South Asia. So the kani kanong kuan Copperplate kay kuan mo ni first earliest nga evidence sa writing sa literature in history in Philippines. So nagkuan ko na yun, nag-discover sa about sa province of Laguna pag kuan ko no pag 1989. So next dol kamo pod.
Go, baby.
Sige, sikan katulo.
Okay. This artifact was discovered during dredging operations with a mechanical conveyor in the Lumbang River. It is in the province of Laguna, Anton Posma, a Dutch specialist in ancient Philippine scripts and Mangyan writing who have lived in Philippines for a long time. Translated text that became known as the Laguna Copperplate inscription in 1990. The inscription was writing in Old Malay using the Kawi script, with influence of Sanskrit or Japanese as confirmed by Dr. Johan D. Kasparis. A host area of expertise was ancient Indonesia despite its resemblance to Japanese records. The Copperplate had certain distinguishing characteristics that led scholars to conclude it not from the island of Java. So, in this paragraph, this artifact was discovered during the operations of mechanical conveyor in the Lupang River, located at Laguna, Posma. And that specialist is Mangyan writing of the Philippines for a long time. The text became known as the Copperplate inscription. So, ang nakabutang sa inscription kaning Copperplate kay Old Malay using Kawi script, influence from Sanskrit. Ni i-confirm ni Dr. Johan Kasparis nga expert ani nga ang ancient Indonesia despite its semblance to Japanese records, the Copperplate distinguishing characters that lead scholars. Okay, next dol. Ako na.
Sige.
First, the LCI makes no mention of King Balintong, the king of the Java at the moment. It was customary at the time to include the king's name in all official records. Second, the text was written in language other than Sanskrit, Old Javanese, Old Malay, and Old Tagalog, were all included. Finally, the prose style was distinct. Characters were impressed into hot copper in Java at the time, but the characters on the Laguna plate seems to have been harmed into cold copper. In the examination conducted by Postma, he learned that the inscription was about death of a man called Damwaran, whose death were dismissed due to a pardon from the chief of Tondo, 1 kati and 8 suwarna, or about 926.4 grams of gold was debt. Next dul. Di sunod na.
Si Kon, Jelo Muñiz. Ay siya sa kay hinay kay signal. Ang basahan na.
Ako lang siya pa sabi.
Sige.
What does the document artifact say? The Laguna Copperplate is the first document that can shed light on the nature of the political hierarchy by portraying slavery in early Philippine society. The Copperplate was a certificate acquitting the debt incurred by the person named Namuran, together with his family, relatives, and descendants of the chief of Dewata. In present day Mount Dewata near 28 Butuan, Namuan was understood to be a man of status, but due to his debt, he has become a debt or servant. His relatives were seeking release from the obligation through the chief of Tondo, Jayadewa, the chief of the commander of Tondon, the president of Day Tondo, Manila, in turn command the chief of Bulran, Pala, and Bingwangan to witness the acquittal of Namuran of his debt amounting of 865 grams, 29 of gold, and then mauna na.
Next.
Ikaw basa.
Jilo.
Tayo na.
Who authorized it? It is authorized by Jim. Eh? Jim Yuguria. Jim Yuguria Yungsun.
Puto-puto lang.
Sidol.
Puto-puto lang.
Kuha na si Jilo ni kaya ako signal hinay kayo. Unsa gito question?
The artifact sidol.
Artifacts na sa what does the document.
The artifact say itong
Sige dal. The artifact say long live in the year of Saka 822 month of Waisaka according to the Tristromener, the 4th day of waning moon, Monday on this occasion, lady ang angkatan and her relative whose name is Buka. The children of Honorable Nomuaran were awarded of document of complete pardon from the Commander-in-Chief of London, represented by the Lord of Minister of Pala, Jaidewa. This means that through the honorable script, the honorable Numuaran is totally cleared of his salary, relatives of Kati, and its Suarna before the honorable Lord Minister of Puliran Kasumuran, but the authority of the Lord Minister of Paila, represented by Ganashaki Kiti. Ganashakti, Honorable and widely renowned Lord Minister of Binwagan, represented by Bisrota, and with his whole family, upon order of the Lord Minister of Biwata,
Next, ha?
with the chief of Saan naman to?
Alright bro. what was the provenance of source of the document artifact. So the provenance of source of that artifact was found in 1889 near the mouth of the Lumbang River near Laguna, Dibay. Dibay, by a man who was bringing sand to turn into concrete, suspecting that the artifact might have some value. The man sold it to an antique dealer who, having found no buyers, eventually sold it to the National Museum of the Philippines. So kani kanong the province source of the document artifact kay nag kuan ko ni sa kuan mga man of nag was found in 1989 the man of the Lumbang River sa Laguna de Bay. Sige, kanadang was who authorized it kay si kuan Yam Gloria Twingson kay next doll.
Wala ni.
Sige.
Tinta. What was the context of the primary sources production? The context of primary sources production was a type of script in Laguna, Copperplate Inscription, as identified in the so-called early Kawi script. And I think it originated in the island of Java and what it has its origin in India as in the language description that is found influenced linguistically by Sanskrit or Malay and all Japanese. Both the type of script and language of Laguna Copperplate inscription shows this area was not actually isolated from the rest of Southeast Asia as had been previously assumed. It origins in India's polymath of Kushan, Emperor Kanishka, and Yeritibu, and so on. So, the context of the primary sources is the Laguna Copperplate as a type of script used has been identified as a so-called early Kawi script, which originated in Indonesian island of Java. As time goes on, cause of maritime Southeast Asia during 10th century AD, the script derived na po siya sa Pailaba script. Ang origin niya kay nasa India. It has been found of heavily influenced po siya sa by Sanskrit, Old Malay, and Old Japanese. So ang type sa script ani both mo rin siyang mga Sanskrit, Old Malay, Old Japanese. Okay, next slide na dol.
Ang kinsa ni dol.
Sunod dol.
Ako ni.
Sige lang ko.
Ako. What its importance in our country history? The importance is the Laguna Copperplate Inscription, means LCI. The earliest known evidence for writing literature in the history of the Philippines. So, the earliest kuno sa known evidence kay writing sa literature history in Philippines. Then the Laguna Copperplate inscriptions is a sheet of copper metal when ancient writing discovered in the province of Laguna in 1989. So nagsimula nagkuan sila nagsuwat daw sila para ma-discover kay dito sa province of Laguna atong kuan 1989. We know very little about the Philippines prior to the Spanish conquest outside of writing history aside from the few records in China. They that mentions the islands, there have only been a few artifacts discovered in the Philippines, right? When writing in them, the Laguna Copperplate inscription is a is the name of an inscription written on an artifact that has great significance for the understanding of the history of the Philippines during the 10th century. So, many scholars believe that the area was isolated from the rest of Southeast Asia. Daghan kuno nga scholar ni believe sa area kay ni isolate dito sa South Asia. Then this artifact was discovered during rigging operations when a mechanical conveyor in the Lumbang River, which is located in the province of Laguna. In Anton Postma, a Dutch specialist in ancient Philippine scripts on Magyarn writing, Pohan lived in the Philippines for a long time, translated the text that became now known as the Laguna Copperplate inscription in 1980. Then the inscription was written in the old Malay using the Taoist script when influences from Sanskrit and all Japanese has as confirmed by Dr. Johan D. Kasparis, whose area of the expertise was seen in Indonesia despite its resemblance to the Japanese record. The cover plate had certain distinguishing characteristic that led scholars to conclude it was not plate it was not from the island of Java. First, the Laguna fleet makes no mention of the king Balitong, the king of Java. Kani kuno si King Balitong kay the king of Java ni siya. Then at the moment, it was customary at the time to include the king's name in all official records. Second, the text was written in the language other than Sanskrit. Sanskrit, Old, the Japanese, Old Malay, then all Tagalog were or include. Finally, the style was distinct characters were impressed into hot cover in Java at the time, but the distinct characters were impressed into hot cover in Java. Balik. In the Laguna plate seem to have been hammered into cold cover in the examination. Sa Laguna plate seem to the been hammer kay ni murag ni examine bitaw sa mga cold cover. Then conducting by Usma, he learned that ang ni examine kay si by Postma. Then he learned that the inscription was about the death of a man called Namuran, whose deeds were dismissed due to a pardon from the chief of Tondo when Gati and its Sumarna, or about 926.4 grams of gold, which is deemed Nadol.
Okay, next. Bro, enough.
Uh,
Report, Dol.
so, mga na tong report na to, Dol. Ma'am,
Yeah.
sige. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.